Manipur, Silchar, Jorhat, and Guwahati. So today we will be talking about the X-rays. How to study the cervical spine X-rays. So we have discussed what is the X-ray is supposed to do. We have mentioned the importance of mouth open view for C1, C2. We also told you the AP and lateral view of cervical spine. Particularly look for the subaxial part. Subaxial means at the level of below the C2. Subaxial part, and to see better the junctional area, particularly the cervicothoracic junction, we suggest to go for swimmer's view. So these are the X-rays, and then also we talk about the oblique views, right and left oblique views. These are also the X-rays in trauma situations. But I told you also that even then doing all these things also sometimes you may not be able to give a very good diagnosis. But our endeavor is always on to avoid any misinjury of cervical spine. That is why you take all the X-rays was been necessary, 1 point. Number 2 also is necessary go for the further investigation by cervical spine, CT scan or the MRI to look for the particularly the ligamental complex and the status of your intervertebral disc. This thing. So as usual, we have to start with a philosophy. Today's philosophy is here. We talked yesterday, Ajot P. Santere Ma Bhutanabi Sarpisang, Pakitik Sami Distaya Samanaya. This was the last one. Today is there Jara Jarahi Dharmaisa Glani Bhavati Bharatam Adbudhanam Adharmaisa Taratmanam Sitamyam. That is from the 4th chapter of Gita, where Lord says that Lord already said that I have given the conscientious knowledge to Surya Devata, then it is percolating down from generation to generation, but there is distortion. There is also misapplications of this your knowledge. And whenever there is distortion to a certain extent, he used to visit, he used to repair to make it straight or correct. That is the actual principle of this, actual meaning of this your last verse. Anyway, that is, we all know about this, you are familiar with this sloka. Okay, fine, that is one part. That is what we are going to talk today. That, as I said already, that most important thing is it is very difficult to know the craniocervical junction. Craniocervical junction, which is comprising of occiput, yes or no, C1 and C2 junction. This junctional part is a bit difficult to understand sometimes. 1 point. With all the modalities of investigations, including X-ray, CT scan, MRI. Why so? Because most of the time this area is mostly all ligamental and all soft tissue structures which are more important to provide the stability. Unlike the bony one. In supposing there would be more bony area, probably that could have been more revealed by CT scan or the X-ray. But this area is so much deep and difficult to pick up by this X-ray, CT scan and MRI. That is why sometimes we take the indirect guidance. This is actually all which we are going to talk. Indirect evidence of instability. What is that? Indirect evidence of instability. Means not that direct one, but indirectly you are supposed to understand how to calculate it to know that there is some sort of this emerald. This is because the ratio or the relationship basically. So this comprises, see, this area is craniocervical junction, where you have this occiput here. This area is C1. This is your C2, which is more prominent. Yes or no? In this area, this is your odontoid process. This is odontoid process. This is your actually C1 here. C1 body. There is no body but a ring. Yes or no? You have the ring here. It is like this. Yes or no? Your odontoid process is here. Here anteriorly you do have this C1. There is no body as such but the anterior arch of the C1 vertebra. ঠিক আছে? So first thing you have to identify that this is foramen magnum part here. In the foramen magnum part there are two borders. One is bastion here, which is called ostium. ठीक है सर, bastion ostium you have to understand one point. One border is your bastion, another is ostium. Okay, this part is your odontal process. Yes, this is your actually part of your C1 extending here. This part is clear? Yes or no? Now, why you are interested here? That I told you that instead of going for the direct evidence in this area, we take the help of indirect evidence. These indirect evidence are basically different lines and ratios. What I am going to talk is this your powers ratio. What is power ratio? See, one ratio is power ratio. That a line is being drawn from the bastion to the posterior border of the C1 like this, right? Another line is drawn from the C1 here to the ostium here. They are supposed to have an intersection, and this ratio is 1:1. 1:1. Once there is a displacement, some ratio is lost. It indicates that there is a subluxation or dislocation of craniocervical junction. Clear, sir? That is one point. It is called powers ratio. This is one. Number two is I am going to talk is called Harris rule of 12. What is Harris rule of 12? See, Harris rule of 12 is being that this is bastion. One point is extending to the tip of your odontal process. This is one line. Another line is drawn from the posterior border of the odontal process like this upwards. Now join this point from here to here. This from bastion to that line which are extending upwards from the posterior border of the odontal process. Clear? Now this point and this point are most of the time is 12 millimeter. Yes, sir. So this point is 12. This point is 12. This is called Harris rule of 12. One is power ratio, which is 1:1. Yes. Another is your Harris rule of 12. Harris rule of 12 is that this point is extending from the tip of the odontal process towards your bastion. Another line is going from the posterior side of this here. Then the junction line is joined like this, and this line is almost equal, and they are 12. In X-ray, of course, CT scan it says it is 8.5 centimeter like that millimeter. So this is equal. See, in a situation when there is a fracture here, odontal process, or there is a dislocation that part, probably this relationship is lost. It is clear now? Now third point is called ADI and PDI. AD and PD. AD and PD is that if you look carefully, you will find this is the posterior border of the anterior ring of the C1. And this is your anterior border of your odontal process. Is it clear? So there is a gap always between the posterior surface of the ring and the anterior border of your odontal process. This is usually 3 millimeter. On the other hand, if you take this ratio from here to the posterior border of this A, this is 10. So it is 3. It is 10 13. So this ratio is also maintained. So this is called ADI and this is called PDI. So ADI and PDI, understood? So now supposing the odontal process is flexed and going posteriorly, this gap will change, and it will also indicate this ligament which is holding the odontal process is flexed or injured. That is why it is displaced. It is my point. So in a situation when there is a C1, C2 dislocation, subluxation, or whatever it might be, so this ratio ADI and PDI will be changed. So we have in craniocervical junction, there are so many things. There are so many things that if you are transecting from your heart palate, from the heart palate to the bastion, each level is just transecting at the level of tip of the autointral process. There is another ratio. So it may be difficult to comprehend all the things, but these are the 3 points you are supposed to understand while you discuss about the craniocervical junctions injury. So as I said, craniocervical junction is a bit difficult to understand, difficult to comprehend by the existing modalities of investigation. That is why we take the advantage use of your different ratios and the lines to understand the relationship. If the relationship is lost, it indicates something is wrong. So that includes your Powers line, as I said. That includes your Harris rule of 12. And that is your AD and PD. This is clear, no? So this part of the lateral view of this craniocervical junction. Where is the mouth open view? So in this area, again we will talk about we are talking about the craniocervical junction. Now we are going to talk in the mouth open view. Mouth open view essentially is important to look for the craniocervical junction, particularly C1, C2. Yes, the importance of the odontal process, this is the odontal process. The gap between the odontal process and the C1 ratio, you have to see that part, this part. This ratio, see the gap between these two, both sides. Okay? What are the things you are going to see here? What are the things you are going to see here? One is that what about the integrity of the odontal process? In odontal process, usually you used to get 3 types of fracture. Either fracture may be in the tip, or in the body, or inside at the basal area. Yes, this is more important to understand because this needs surgery, but many times this and this doesn't need surgery. That is one. In mouth open view, what are the things you are going to see? One is to see the integrity of your odontal process. One. Yes. Number 2, this gap, both sides of the gap should to be understood. That if it is not shifting this side, it is not shifting this side. That uniformity of the gap between these two, as well as the gap between the two also, where C1 and C2 join. Okay, sir? Understood? Next point is that look at the boundary of the C1, C2 outer side. Here also it is like this. So outer side, see the boundary of the outer side. This is important. This is important that this boundary of the lateral boundary of the C1 and the lateral boundary of C2 are in the same line. The lateral boundary of C1 and lateral boundary of C2 are in the same line. This line is important particularly in case of Jefferson's fractures. Jefferson's fracture means fracture happening in the C1. So, many times this Jefferson fracture does not need surgery. But in a case where there is displacement of this fragment going away, it indicates there is more displacement. Now, whether the Jefferson fracture is displaced or is maintaining a relationship, we understand from the lateral border of this here. If the lateral border of the C1, if the lateral border of the C2 are the same line, indicates there will be fracture, displacement is less. But if it is going more than 7 to 8 millimeter, it indicates a cross displacement of fragment. This part is clear. So, our lateral view, what are things you have to see? Craniocervical junction. Mouth open view speaks about the C1, C2. Here we look for the integrity of the of the entire process. Any fracture there? Size of the entire process is the gap between the C1 C2. Uniformity of the gap is more important. And particularly look for the border of the C1, whether it is slipping down, the C2 indicates that there may be a fracture of the Jefferson and there is also gross displacement. This should be clear. So up to now, do you have anything to ask? Particularly this part is a bit important, and the ratios are very important to understand. To understand the craniocervical junction. You know, craniocervical junction is very vital, and in trauma in this area, since you do have the vital centers of respiration and other things there, so that area is very vital, because if there is instability and there is a displacement there, probably that will be very catastrophic to the patient. So it is better always understand this area, and this understanding is basically based on some ratios and relationship, basically relationship of various bony structures in the lateral view and in AP view of the multiple view. This part is clear to all. Yes or no? Yes. Now next thing there, we are going for the C3 down below. The AP and lateral view, lateral view and AP view of the cervical spine is very important to understand the subaxial part. What we have discussed already is the craniocervical junction. Now we will talk down below. Now in the down below, as I said, while reading the X-ray of the cervical spine, we mostly give more importance to lateral view. AP view also important, but lateral view is more informative. So in a situation in cervical spine injury, lateral view reading and study is very important. Here we do read the cervical spine injury lines depending upon some A, B, C, D. A means your alignment. These alignments are basically said on the basis of the lines. So one line is going like this. This is your anterovertebral line. Yes. Number 2 is this is your posterior vertebral line we are drawing here. Then we also draw this your diatrial joints line. Then we are also drawing the posterior spinous process line. So these all the lines are important. These lines, integrity of the lines is important. That speaks about the alignment. We will talk about the importance of these lines later on also. That why the line is important. A simple slip of this vertebra of around 3.5 mm is significant enough to tell us instability according to the SMCH criteria. Are you aware with that? Is some radiological findings are important which speaks about the instability of the cervical spine. Trauma is there, but how radiologically you can quantify the instability is being revealed by the translations of the vertebra. By only 3.5 mm is enough to tell us this is unstable in cervical spine. That is revealed by the breakage of this vertebral line. Is it clear? 1 point. Number 2, you know, in case of cervical spine also, we will look for this A. B is your bony part. B is your bony. Means you see the bony component of the vertebra. A, alignment. B is bones. Here you also see the integrity of this all the bony component, vertebral body, how it is maintaining shape, size or no. Is there a compression of the vertebra or reductions of the height of the vertebra, or is there is translation, whatever it might be. Then you also see the posterior part, joint part. These joints are important to see. Lateral joint. Then also the spinous process part is also important to see. Particularly, sometimes you may not find anything there anteriorly, but you may find the fracture of the spinous process. This is basically seen in a hyperextension injury where the body is going like this. There is a crowding of this your bony spinous processes that leads to your fracture there at the spinous process, but it again come back to the original position, anteriorly nothing. So in the X-ray you will find only fracture at the posterior spinous process and other part, because the other part, the bony component is not involved. There may shearing force at the level of the cervical disc. Open up. Yes, anteriorly it is going down below and causing this impression here. Yes, C means your cartilage. But before that, I have to say one more point that while you reading the X-ray also, that though we do not say another line, this another line there in the soft tissue also. This is your soft tissue swelling. The prevertebral soft tissue or rectopharyngeal space is another important point in the lateral view of the cervical spine. This part is a bit more, almost 10. Here it is coming down to 4. Here it is coming down to almost more than your say 17. Yes? So if it is 7, then it is 10, almost 10. C1, C2 level 10. 3, 4 level it is rest, means the nasopharynx is there. Again down below it is more. This is soft tissue. Ratio of the soft tissue in the C1, C2 area is high, almost 10. Coming down in the C3, C4 level to almost 4, less. Then again this year almost 17, sort of 17, 18, sometimes in case of adult up to 22. What is more important, that this ratio should be important, particularly in two situations, in trauma situation also or in infective situation also. In the retropharyngeal abscess or the collections behind the retropharyngeal space or prevertebral area in a trauma situation indicates a hematoma there. Yes, a hyperextension injury, tearing of all the soft tissue structures, nothing is there, but the swelling is there in the anterior part of the body of the vertebra, indicates probably there is a collection of the hematoma there. On the other hand, in an infective condition also, collections of the there is more swelling than that of the normal depth of the soft tissue, indicates there will be abscess there, particularly in the case of your abscess form in case of tuberculosis. Yes, so this is importance of the retropharyngeal space or prevertebral soft tissue swelling. And we have said about the C. C means your cartilage, means intervertebral disc. The uniform of the disc is very important. Reduction in a certain area up to 1.5 centimeters, 1.5 mm is very important. Usually it is 3 to 4, right? So how it is coming down is indicated. That is one. And these degenerations is if there is any osteophyte and other things are here in D. So in the cervical spine, lateral view is more important. We should look for the prevertebral soft tissue swelling, then the prevertebral lines, posterior vertebral lines, joint line, spinous line. These all lines are important to indicate something. A translation of your 3.5 is very significant. Then also we talk about the actually another thing regarding the B part of the body. If the body height is coming down even up to 25% of the existing vertebral level, means supposing this is your 9, this is your 9. If it is coming down, only 3 is coming, then almost 75% is still there, but 25% is reduced. This is a sign of instability here. Unlike in the other vertebra in the lumbar-sacral spine where you consider it up to 50%, but in cervical spine it is only 25%. On the other hand, local Cobb's angle, it's a regional Cobb's angle, If it is having an angle of you have to find a ratio that if there is a reduction in the body of the vertebra and you take the curve angles from the adjacent vertebra and it is around say 11 degree. This is also another sign of radiological instability of the cervical spine. Usually this area and this line they makes an angle of 2 degree, almost parallel. But if it is coming down to only 11 degree, that indicates a sign. These are the radiological signs of instability of cervical spine. What I said is the radiological signs of instability, translation of 3.5. Yes, sir. A cross reduction of the cervical spine is also important. Then the corpse angle coming around 11 degree. Yes. Corpse angle coming down 11 degree. And the reduction of the vertebra only by 25% is also a radiological sign of instability. However, we have to take other points also considerations to take up the patients for operation or non-operations. That's another chapter. But even then, from the radiological point of view, these are the signs of instability. Yes, sir. So you go for the AP view now. In the AP view, what are things you look for? You know you have a central line here. This central lines indicates actually end-on view of the cervical spine, spinous process. So this is spinous process are in the central. Then you have a lateral border there, both sides. So this, what are things you look for? Again ABCD here. A is the lines relationship. These lines, what is the importance of the line? I'll tell you. See, in a case of your unilateral dislocation of the cervical spine vertebra, not bilateral, unilateral, there is a rotation of the vertebra. Vertebra is this side is going rotated. Yes or no? Mane anterior part is posteriorly going. So there is a rotation. This rotation of the vertebra will be reflected by in the AP view of the cervical spine as the distortion of the central line. So central lines in down view it should be continuous, like this it is continuous. Suddenly it is disappeared, it is going like this. Here, supposedly it is going like this, it is not continuous, indicates there is a evidence of your unilateral dislocations of your vertebral joint. Got my point? That is important. On the other hand, the lateral translations of the vertebra is indicated by the lateral border, and also in the part you look for the intravertebral disc. Another thing which you are trying to see, this is called uncovertebral joint. This part, see, this is going upward, this area, this is going upward, this area is called uncovertebral joint or LUSCA. This is an important point from the surgical point of view also, that while you are approaching from the anterior side for disc removal, there is a limit that you do not go boundary to the more than that of your leg. This is a boundary that limits your lateral surgery. Yes, understood? So in AP view, what are things? You look for the central line which is indicated by the end-on view of the spinous process. Distortion indicates your some sort of rotational instability. Most of the time it is because of this unilateral dislocation of the vertebra. Lateral borders are also important to look for the lateral translations. We also look for the body vertebral heights. We also look for the space between the two adjacent vertebrae, this space. We also look for the uncovertebral joints. This is AP view. And this is called swimmer's view. Swimmer's view particularly look for, see, in the lateral view, this area junctional point, sometimes it will be here, but if you want to take a good X-ray, in the lateral view down below, what is your option? One can pull down the shoulder both sides and take the X-ray to reveal. That is one way to do, go up to the lower down the cervical spine. Are you getting my point? But here one can go to see better, because many times the shoulder comes in between the junctional point of C2, cervical junction. That is why sometimes it is not nicely revealed. But here, one can do this maneuver where you are abducting it, shoot it from the lateral side, look for the cervical junctions, because it is not easily revealed. Yes? So in nutshell, these are the X-ray. We are not taking CT scan or other things. We have discussed about the cervical junction. We will discuss about the subaxial junction, open up mount open view, discuss the AP lateral view, we will discuss also the femoral view. Okay, we will go there again discuss. So we have discussed about the important point in context to the radiological evaluations of your cervical spine injury. The importance of the craniocervical junction, the importance in the evaluations of the subaxial part, the importance of the going through the swimmer's view, all these are important. And one should understand the study this here in a sequential way, so that you do not miss it. And I told you that out of all these things, the lateral view of the cervical spine is quite important, and you should study it more thoroughly. Do not miss it anything. That particularly look for the prevertebral soft tissue from the anterior side. Look for the alignment from the border of the body of the anterior border of the line, then posterior border, then you go to the lateral joints and the tip of the spinous process. All the lines are very important, and look carefully. Is there any distortion or no? Look for the gap in intervertebral disc also. This speaks sometimes in a trauma situation, sometimes slicing of the disc may be there. That's important. So, so in nutshell, actually, this is the things we are supposed to do in a trauma situation. But as I say, sometimes of course we need to go for the CT scan and the MRI to have a conclusive pictures. Sometimes this X-rays cannot reveal small fractures. Particularly though we talk in a mount open view about the Jefferson's fractures indications, but as such Jefferson's fracture is not very nicely seen in the X-ray. There one need to go for the CT scan cross-sectional view at the level of your C1 to see how the fracture is. The AP view or mount open view of the mount open view, it only speaks if it is grossly displaced and going away from the border, lateral border of the C2. That indicates there is displacement of the fragments. But as such, it is very difficult to comprehend about the fractures configurations or morphology in Jefferson's fractures. Yes? So many times also small fractures are not very much delineated, and then delineated in these X-rays. Again, sometimes even dislocations and dislocations is very easily seen in the bilateral dislocations is very easily seen in the cervical spine because your translation of the vertebrae is there. But unilateral, mostly you are dependent on the AP view. They are the end-on views of the spinous process indicates this thing, but hardly able to speak about how it is happening, in which side is going. Which side is there is unilateral dislocation, the right side or left side is very difficult to say from the X-ray. So even doing all this X-rays also, sometimes your diagnosis is not conclusive. As I mentioned, that the Jefferson's fractures, unilateral dislocations, or even some occult fractures are never delineated in the X-rays. Particularly in those situations, a CT scan speaks much more than simple X-rays. Even doing all these views, you are yet to have a conclusive pictures. That is why nowadays people often go for a CT scan, a quick CT scan of this area to have more informations rather than going for the multiple X-rays of the cervical spine. And regarding this cervical spine, your stress X-rays. Stress X-rays are earlier days it was giving more importance to know about the instability part. However, there is always a risk with this neurological deficit. That is why it is not encouraged. And if you do so also, you must have a good backup setup to support these patients if such consequence arises. So that is why it is not routinely practiced. And routinely practiced. So instead of that, you people are going for the MRI to look for the integrity of the PLC or postero-ligamental complex. As such, in the lateral view of the cervical spine, we should also look for the space between the two spinous processes also. The undue opening of one spinous process radiologically indicates the tearing of the postero-ligamental complex. Yes, so that is another radiological finding in lateral view, the undue gap between two spinous process. So this is how one should go for the radiological evaluations of the cervical spine trauma. So any question to be asked and anything to be discussed?